All right. Cool. Okay. Thanks to all you early birds. I'm one of those myself. Okay. Well, it is noon o'clock. Folks might be trickling in, but because we only have about a half an hour, I just want to just start. And this recording this live will be recorded, so and will be available for a week. So for people who are watching this later, welcome, hello. Just a little housekeeping. Kelsey, our marketing goddess of all things, is also here. If you have technical issues or anything like that, you can just send her a message and she'll hopefully be able to help you. I'm going to be just kind of trying to focus on getting you all the good info, and I will be taking questions at the end. So you can either, you'll be able to raise your hand, or if you have a question that you just want to get out of your brain so you don't forget, you can just put it in the chat, and then I'll be able to see any questions at the end. So, and I know this is also, this is something that we're doing together, so we can, learn a skill, but also this is building community. So, if you want, you can put your just your name and where you're from in the chat. And we've definitely seen in a lot of these classes that the folks who show up start to kind of, be buds and connect with each other too. So just please use this as an opportunity to find like minds and hearts and fellow plant nerds. Okay, so welcome to our second Herbal Live. I'm so excited to have you in my kitchen. And today we're going to be talking about oil infusions. I'm going to be showing how to make a passive oil infusion. It's just such a really good time of year for that because plants are popping. We're going to be talking about Calendula, St. John's wort, chamomile, but there's other herbs that you might want to make an oil infusion of for topical use, comfrey, lavender, for instance, and this is the beginning of the abundance of all those plants. The other great thing about a passive infusion is we're going to discuss later as I show you how to do it, but you can also use the sun to be able to cook the medicinal properties into the oil for your topical use. So I also love this subject, of course, because oil and fat is what puts fat in the moon. It is the medium of external herbal medicine. Really an herbal oil is the medicinal constituents of plants being infused into the plant oils that then you can use topically on your skin and get the medicinal benefits, the healing benefits of the plants via your dermis. So it's kind of what I'm all about. It's what I think about all the time. So the other cool thing is when you learn how to make an herbal oil, that is the beginnings of kind of a whole world. So, that oil can be used, just straight up by itself. It can be used as a base for a salve, and a salve is just mixing fat with wax. So the wax helps the oil basically have more staying power, so it'll stay put on an area that you want to apply it to. You can also use these herb infused oils for lotions. So it's just a really great way to stack functions and other body care products you might be making at home. Just to get right into the oils, the fats, the plant fats themselves are medicinal. So if you think about, a nut or a seed, that is the sort of vital energy for the next generation of plants. So when the oil is being extracted from seeds or from nuts, that is the sort of like vital force of the plant. It also has a lot of the protective nutrients of the plant. So when we just use oil, just straight up coconut oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, sea buckthorn oil, hemp oil, there's a million different amazing oils out there. That's a true passion of mine, is exploring all the oils. In and of themselves, they have anti-inflammatory, emollient, which is softening properties, antimicrobial properties, as in coconut oil. So today we're going to be using sunflower oil. Sunflower oil is one of the oils that we use primarily actually in our potions at Fat in the Moon. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, it's one of the oils that's the most neutral for a sort of variety of skin types. So it has a really good balance of being absorbent for the skin, but won't clog pores. And also has a good balance of acids, of the fatty acids that both protect and the skin and help with skin repair, cellular turnover. So it's just kind of a nice sort of neutral middle ground oil, not too thick, not too thin. And then there's the sunflower. The sunflower itself has this sort of radiant property. The sunflower face, follows the sun. So it has this solar energy and solar power that I think really comes through in the potions that we make. And that's just one thing also to kind of consider is the attributes. Of course, you want to know, what medicinal properties there are of the plants, of the oils that you're using. You want to make sure it's really fresh and good quality and all that stuff, but also like, what's the nature of the plant? What kind of attributes does it have? What qualities does it have? As a way to really think about, the potion that you're going to be making, how you can kind of optimize the intention behind the potion that you're making with, whatever plants you're choosing. So there might be also some oils that you have just already in your kitchen, and part of this series is really empowering folks to think about what they have around them, to be able to make basic body care products that are part of all of our ancestry. So olive oil is a good option. Coconut oil is a good option. So thinking about, things that you already have, around you. Coconut oil also has the additional benefits of being antimicrobial, can really help with certain kinds of skin conditions. So, but today we're going to be using good old sunflower oil. And I also am just going to be introducing 3 plants that we use a lot in our products at Fat in the Moon, and it's just fun to be able to nerd out about the plants and their medicinal properties with you all. So that is going to be these 3 plants are chamomile, and I have this chamomile that actually one of our makers at the Coven grew herself. So it's a combination of Roman and German chamomile. It smells incredible. St. John's wort. And St. John's, this I just harvested yesterday. And I'll go into a little bit about that. So I basically, when you're making, and I'll speak more about this, but I just want to say it a couple times just in case somebody misses it the first time. If you're going to use fresh plants, you're going to definitely need to have them wilt for at least 12 hours before you make an oil infusion of them. Most of the other plants, the chamomile and then the calendula, which we'll be talking about, are dried. You mostly want to use dried plants when you're making oil infusion, because if they're too wet, they'll get into the oil and potentially can turn the oil, get moldy and kind of yucky. So the trick is, if you want to harvest, something fresher, then you harvest it. You harvest the plant, you let it wilt for 12 hours at least. What my trick is I harvested the St. John's wort, put the plant into a paper bag, just seal it up, put it in the trunk of your car. This is some like old school herbalist DIY technique here. The trunk of the car is the best place to dry your herbs. And, if they're in a protected, so like paper bag, they're great because they breathe, but they also protect the plants from getting any sun or anything like that. So then after 12 hours, you have a very nicely dried plant that's still pretty vital and fresh. So let's start with calendula. And these are sweet little calendula buds that my garden is popping off right now with calendula. And in Slovenian, the calendula is called ogni, which is like fire. So these little bursts of flame that kind of keep coming throughout the summer, throughout the fall. In California, they're pretty much perpetual. And calendula is in a class called the vulneraries. So the vulneraries are basically wound healers. They help to promote cellular repair, and that's topically. It also can be used internally, but today we're going to be talking about it topically. The amazing thing about calendula, and actually all of these plants, chamomile and St. John's wort, but definitely more in particular calendula and chamomile, not only do they help promote cellular repair, they also are antimicrobial. So they help the area that you're applying these plants to resist bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. So they're basically cleaning the area while they're also helping to promote healing of an open wound or burns, bruises, rashes, lesions, etc. As far as an open wound, I just want to say too, you definitely don't want to put an infused oil on an open wound. You want to clean it. You can use teas of these plants to clean open wounds. They're actually really helpful in that capacity. But when we're thinking about oil infusions, that's for kind of later on in the repair cycle. The other thing that I will say too about herb infused oils topically, you don't want to put them directly on a burn. So if you have a burn, you want to cool that skin down, because that burned area on the skin basically continues to burn. You can feel the heat. So you want to cool that area down. So that you could do that with witch hazel, you could do that with vinegar, just cold water, until that temperature goes down. Then after the sort of initial cooling down process and letting it have air so it can cool down, then you can apply lotions, aloe vera, that kind of stuff. And then sort of in the secondary phase, when it starts to get kind of scabby, then that's a good time to use an oil infusion. Okay, so chamomile. So there's many different ways to prepare chamomile for internal and external use. So we think about chamomile tea as very calming to have in the evenings. Chamomile also has that effect on the skin and topical, for topical use. And at the same time, like I mentioned before, antimicrobial, and then helps to promote cellular repair. So as if there's some kind of rupture, in the case of a wound, a bruise, a lesion, a rash, a variety of different things, that those constituents really help to generate new cellular growth and repair. St. John's wort. St. John's wort has similar attributes. So one way that I would definitely recommend St. John's wort being used topically in an oil infusion is also for pain. So for nerve pain, muscle pain, sprains, sometimes you can actually get through the dermis medicinal properties of plants inside the body. So that's a whole other class that we could go into. But in this particular case, if you have an injury or something like that, making an oil infusion of St. John's wort, applying it topically, can actually be helpful for pain relief. So let's see here. Okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some skin principles and how oil can assist, in herbal infused oil can assist in all of these processes or these principles. So, for optimal skin health, you want to cleanse, protect, and nourish the skin. So, when you have your handy dandy herbal infused oil, it basically can hit all these different categories. So firstly to cleanse. You want to be able to, remove impurities, help the skin in the sloughing process, because the skin is constantly undergoing a sort of sloughing and renewal process. So, glowing skin is sort of like assisting and aligning with your skin's own capacity to turn over. Oil, actually, it's counterintuitive, and this is something that we talk about a lot with Fat and the Moon products. It's counterintuitive, but actually to use oil as a cleanser is one of the best things that you can do for your skin. So our skin's natural oil is called sebum, and we produce that. And so when you use oil to cleanse your skin, you're actually helping it's sort of the principle of like dissolves like. So if you're adding oil to your skin, it sort of starts to dilute and dissolve the sebum that has, bacteria, pollution, dead skin cells, just like the grit and grime of just like life. Helps to sort of liberate those from the skin surface. You massage your skin, and then you can, with a hot towel, you can wipe it away, rinse it off. And what's great about using oil as a cleanser is it doesn't strip your skin of its own moisture. So that's a lot of times people with oily skin, they feel as though they need to use kind of intense astringents and all that stuff to rid the skin of oil, but actually that just creates sort of a situation where then your skin starts to overcompensate, and it's a vicious cycle. So one of the first things that I always recommend for folks who are kind of struggling with overly oily skin, or even acne, or just issues where their face feels kind of out of whack. There's some dry spots, and then there's really oily spots. Start with an oil cleanser. So that's the cleanse part of it. Protect. Oil helps. So herb infused oil helps to protect the skin by increasing the integrity of the skin surface. Also helping the skin absorb UV radiation, helping with skin with cellular turnover. These are all sort of protecting the skin from oxidative stress. So the plant oil itself is protective, and then especially when you're infusing herbs into that oil, depending on what you're choosing, it can really help to become a sort of like herbal plant barrier between the world, UV radiation, pollution, grit and grime, and your skin. So nourishing the skin, herbal infused oils can really help to nourish the skin by basically bringing those nutrients that are inherent in the phytochemistry of the plant and in the oil into the skin. So there's a lot of nutrients and vitamins and helpful acids, etc., that really help to nourish the skin. So you kind of have you have it all in just your herbal infused oil, which is pretty cool. So now I will show you how to make a passive infusion. This is the folk method. So it's kind of nice because it's pretty straightforward. And I just want to say too that this is just a starting point. These herbal lives are really just my offering to folks to feel really empowered in their kitchen rather than sort of overwhelmed by, doing it perfectly. The folk methods really give a lot of room. They give a lot of room for what plants you want to use, what's happening at certain times of the year, what's already in your kitchen, and also a creative flair, which I am 100% behind supporting in every way possible. So these are just basics. And then you can really build off of that, and you can get super nerdy. There's all kinds of information out there, how to make exactly, this sort of ratio of herb to menstruum and all that stuff. So that's available, but this is just a starting point. So I just want you to be gentle with yourself and give yourself room to play. So the sort of like very basic ratio that I would say is about 1/3 part dried plant herb to 1 part oil. So I have quart jars right here, and I have my herbs. You can do whatever ratio you want depending on what's going on in your garden. So I'm going to put, as a very general measuring, I'm just going to put some of my calendula in my quart jar. Put my and my chamomile. I'll just do a little bit more of the calendula in here. So that's roughly about a third of the jar full. Then I'm going to pour my oil over it. So I did just want to say that today is the new moon, and it's the new moon in Cancer. And new moons are a really great time to start a potion. So this is the time where we're kind of, thinking about the energy, kind of going inward and creating intention, and that kind of like that seed, that like all this kind of like nutrients and pressure for this sort of like opening and unfolding that is moving towards the full moon. So really good day to make a oil infusion, and also anytime that you're making medicine, to really think about the opportunity to set an intention with your with whatever potion you're making. So I like to do that when I'm actually pouring in the oil or the alcohol or whatever it is into my herbs. So just an invitation for you to do the same. So then I would say too, if you're getting witchy with it, to make the oil infusion or tincture or cordial or whatever it is on the new moon, and then strain it on the full moon. And then you get that whole cycle. And if you think about how, the plants are working, and our bodies and the waves, this is kind of these times of opening and closing, the expansion and contraction of life. So, we have an opportunity to align with those forces, and hopefully when we align with them, we're actually able to be more efficient in our intentions, to be able to receive the sort of manifestation of our intentions when we align with the forces of nature. So right. So my intention with making this infusion today is for everybody's optimal healing, and for compassion and understanding in the healing process with ourselves and of each other. And again, thank you all for being here. So here we go. Okay, so now the fun part and the loud part. You have your whole, you have your herbs and your oil weighed out, or the ratio is set. So now you're going to put it in a blender. And the reason that you're going to put the plants and the oil in the blender is you're basically exposing the cells of the plant to oil. So, all the little pieces of the plant you're exposing, so more of the phytochemistry can actually be absorbed into the oil. So you can, if you don't have a blender, you can just chop things up super finely. A lot of times you can powder the plant. You just want to make sure that if you are powdering a plant, you want to get really good quality herbs, because when it's powdered and it's exposed to the sun, it'll oxidize and won't be as vital. So I'm just gonna take my oil here, put it in my mixer. And if you want to, you can totally mute right now because it might be really annoying to hear my blender. So your choice. Here we go. Okay, doesn't have to be long. You just want to get a good pulse in there. Vitamixes are especially powerful, so here we go. So you have your your herb oil smoothie. It actually kind of looks delicious. So from here, I'm gonna cap it up. And here's a tip. Always write what's in the jar, because I will tell you from so many times, so much experience, I forget to write what's on the top and I think I'm gonna remember and I don't. So jar it up. Then you take a t-shirt, this is my kids, and you cover it, or a piece of fabric, you cover it, and you can put this in a warm, sunny place. You can leave it outside. You don't have to do this, but I think, again, you're getting a little bit more of that like solar radiance and that solar energy that's really prime right now. We're pretty close to the solstice. So like, you know, again, this is like how to work smarter, not harder. The sun is abundant, and you can put this in the sun. If that's not an option, you can just put it in a warm place, you know, above the stove, not like hot, but just warm, and let it steep for, you know, a month. A month is a good amount of time. You can, you know, if you're really desperate for it, you can, after 10 days, you can strain some, but that's basically the steeping time. Then when the full moon has come or you're ready to strain it, you can take a handy strainer, a pretty fine one, and then layer it with cheesecloth, put it in your new vessel that you want to put it in, strain it with the cheesecloth, get every last drop out, then you compost the herbs, and then you have a really vital or infused oil. And we'll be sending you the recipe, so don't sweat it if you didn't write it down. But I just wanted to now open it up to questions, since we only have a few minutes left. And yeah, I hope this was helpful. Okay, I'm going to check the chat here. Okay, cool. All right, any of the fluctuation of day to night? Whoops. Let's see. Yeah, the temperature fluctuations are okay, because you're going to be having it, you know, steeped for a month. That's totally cool. You can, the sort of active infusion method is, you know, in a crock pot, on really, really low for 24 hours, depending on what you're trying to extract. But yeah, this is the kind of like folk method. So if you want to do a passive method in the winter time or something like that, just finding a warm spot in your house, and just letting it steep for at least a month. Okay, what type of oil is best? That's kind of your call. I think it really depends on the oil. Some of the oils like that are really fragile, like flax oils and stuff, aren't really like the best, the more like culinary oils, because they can turn, especially, you know, in the heat. So I would say having a little bit more of a stable oil. Olive oil is excellent for that if you're just looking for something that's in your kitchen, or coconut, sunflower, etc. How much of the green part of the plant can go in? I think that really depends on the plant. For St. John's wort, maybe you're thinking of, I just use the top, you know, couple inches of St. John's wort, because there's still those like juicy buds in there. So I like to get the medicine from there. Okay. Oh, good. Yes, good way to use all that calendula. And I used sunflower oil. Yeah, so if you don't grow the plants, the first thing that I would always recommend is trying to find local sources from your farmers market, just because the medicine that's growing in your area is oftentimes just has more resonance if you're using it for yourself and your family. But Mountain Rose Herbs is a great resource as well. Okay. So the trunk of the car thing, the heat is helpful. So you just want to put plants in the trunk of the car, until they're nicely dried. So you don't want to overly dry it in the trunk of the car, but it can be a good way just for a DIY style of drying. We have, you know, like proper sort of flats that we dry things on at the coven. But if you're if you're in a pinch or trying to dry something quickly. That's a good way to do it. And it's a really good way to preserve the constituents. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I see any other questions. Anything else? Does anybody want to, we just have a couple more minutes. Does anybody want to just raise their hand and ask a question? No? You can unmute yourself and totally go for it if you would like. Yes, Laura? Oh,
Hi.
sorry. Hi.
Hi. I have a question about coconut oil. I make a lot of oils with coconut oil, but you know how it gets firm.
Mm-hmm.
I've always just like slowly liquefied it and put the herbs in that way.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the best way to do it?
Definitely. Yeah, because you want the coconut oil to be liquid, otherwise it will resist absorbing the plant constituents. But yeah, that's great. And you can do it gently too. So if you're really trying to maintain, the integrity of the properties of the coconut oil itself, that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Oh, and also jojoba is excellent. I do want to say jojoba is actually a wax. It's a liquid wax and very, very close to the skin sebum. So yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. It is 12:30 and we will be sending the recipe along with our next newsletter. And this recording will be available for a week. So I hope that you come to the next Herbal Live. We're going to be making adaptogenic granola. It's like the most California thing I've said all day. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks.